Hi everyone. I just want to follow up and talk about the final day of the Digital Marketer Down Under conference and some of the key things that I took away from that. So the event opened on the second day with Richard Lindner again, who he works for Digital Marketer in the States. And his presentation was on really how to turn customers into brand advocates. And so he gave some really useful tips on how to make it easy and how to encourage customers who are happy with their experience, how to encourage them to share their experience online and leave reviews and things like that. And, by doing that, it's part of their sort of automated process now. And so by doing that, it actually helps with their promotion because it cuts down on their marketing costs by doing that. So it's definitely a good thing to think about. Just maybe try to work out a process with whatever business that you have to really engage with customers when they're still excited about their purchase after that initial purchase, and then getting them to share their experience with their friends and loved ones. Some stats on that. This was from another presentation straight after from Jeff Mask, and so his presentation was on how to manage and grow your online presence the right way. And so he was really looking at just making sure what you have online about your business or about yourself is accurate, because there are a lot of sites that are sort of like, sometimes they're like local directories and things like that, and they just scrape information from websites that you're sort of you don't know that that's actually happening unless you go out searching for them. And so there's often out-of-date information about your business online. So it's really important to try and continually sort of search for yourself and make sure that what's out there is actually accurate, because you're losing leads and customers if people are ringing wrong numbers and going to old websites and have old information, obviously. But he had some really interesting statistics. I've got them here. So he said that 43% of businesses have at least one incorrect or missing address across major online directories. So that's nearly half, So it's worth doing an audit and seeing what's out there. Another statistic he said was that 97% of people will read online reviews before making a decision. So 97%. And I don't know if you look at your own behavior online. I know reviews, really play a large part in my decision-making process as well. The next one he said is 55% of conversations occur within 1 hour of an initial mobile search. So if someone's looking online for a business and they see you, they're more likely just to press the number and call you. So within an hour of finding you. So it's so important to have the right information out there, and that 4 in 5 local mobile searches result in a purchase. So that's extraordinary. So 4 in 5 searches, people purchase from that and they convert. So it's definitely, please make sure that what you have out there about your business is correct. The next presentation I went to was a round table, and it was Mandy Brasser, and her presentation was called How to Get More Bums on Seats at Your Next Event, which is really good. At USC, we have an event management course where students put on an event for usually a local non-profit, a public event for them, and which often involves fundraising and getting media coverage and things like that. So I went along to that to see what I could find out for them, and also for any events that I run in the future. So she had some really great advice on just looking at that time between when people actually register or purchase their ticket to go to an event and then actually getting them there, because generally with events, usually about 30% of people drop off before the actual event. So they may have bought a ticket, but they can't, they actually end up not going as a result. So she had some really good strategies for that. So I'm going to write all these up. I won't talk about them now, but I'm going to write them all up into a blog post so I can share them with you that way. The other thing that I went to was, I guess, the best one. It was the final keynote of the day. I went to a few others. I went to a LinkedIn one as well, which was Ben Niffen's The Secret LinkedIn Playbook. So his strategy was gaining leads from, I guess, engaging with people that you're already connected to on LinkedIn, relevant people to your business, and then creating a group around something to do with the industry, and then just sharing useful information in there, not really pushing your business or trying to push them to buy or purchase or anything or like that, but just sort of positioning yourself as an expert and someone who knows the industry by sharing other articles and other people's content in that respect. So that was quite interesting, and I'll put that strategy as well in the blog post. So yeah, the final one that I went to was it was again by Ryan Dice, who's the CEO of Digital Marketer, and it was called How to Build the Marketer of the Future. And really what he was saying was that if you're going to market a business or you're actually going into the field of marketing, you need to be what is called a full stack marketer. So a full stack marketer means that you really need to have a knowledge of a lot of different areas. And he shared some stats as well about just the demand, particularly for digital marketers now as a job and career area. Demand is huge because it keeps growing and there's new things all the time, and people just don't know how to do it. So if you're thinking of getting into a field where you want guaranteed work, that is definitely a good area to go into. But from what he was saying, so a full stack marketer, again, he called it a T-shaped marketer, which basically means having a broad understanding of most of the key areas of marketing, like a broad understanding, but then going really deeply and specializing in two of those. So then you'll be able to actually function and have an understanding on all levels. So if you actually worked at a business, you could do all of it, but if you worked at a larger organization where there's generally different departments and people who specialize, you would be able to function there quite well as well. But he also shared a really great graphic of the traits he thinks that the future, or really even now, like present marketers really need. So he said they need to be highly analytical and love data. So hopefully my students this semester who are doing social media monitoring and measurement develop a love of data, because it's so important. Data really needs to inform what you're doing and the decisions that you're making. The second is to be able to spot current trends. So he said you get sick of people asking what's going to happen in 5 years' time, because it's really not that important. You really need to be in touch with what people want right now. The next was being a wordsmith. So writing is so important. Spelling, grammar, punctuation, all of that is so important if you're going to represent someone else's brand or business, and your own too. 4 is listens to customers. Listening is the most important part of communication, and if you're not listening to them, you will not be able to actually help to solve their problems. Number 5, executes tactics with precision. So, is really targeted and knows their customer well enough to be able to do a really effective job. 6, moves quickly and makes messes. So jumps on things as they arise, and provides timely content and jumps on trends and things like that. But realize that, you're going to make some mess. You're not always going to be, you're not always going to succeed, but that's fine. You just move on and keep trying better. Number 7 was having a thick skin and zero ego. So as a marketer, you get a lot of criticism, but you just have to keep going and not take it to heart and keep trying and improving on what you're doing. And number 8, love and empathy. So you have to love your customers and you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes and understand what they want. And again, I talked about this in the last video about making them the hero in their journey, and you're just the guide. So you listen to them and you help them to solve their problems. So that was really it. I won't keep you too long. That was my sort of takings for the second day of the conference. And as I said, I will write that up in a little blog post and share that around. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.